Hello and welcome to episode 104 of the GoTechnology hub2 tutorial series. In this episode we're going to be loading our data at level C, and level C is the physical asset or facility level. So this is where the real kind of heavy lifting starts happening. But if we start off by just checking our trusty data dictionary, and we can see what it is that we're going to need to load up. If you remember from watching the last video, the way you can find the data dictionary, there's a couple of ways actually. The way I showed last time out was just go into the user guide and to go into the top section, which is help, how do I load the data and what do these tables do. It is actually called that, so there we go. There's a link in there, you can just click that. There is actually another way of doing it though, if you want to, which is to go to the release notes site. This takes you to the kind of site with all the release notes on there, which you can see there. It also has the known issues, and it has any other kind of information you want, you might find useful. So there's other stuff you want to have a look at there, including the data dictionary. And you'll be familiar with this site if you've watched any of our release videos, because we mention it every single time. But if we click on the data dictionary and we just go with opening that up, let's go down and grab that. There we go. And what we can do here, if we go in and we change the filter, I'll just go and click enable editing. And we can go to level C. So this is all the information we would want to load at level C. Like I said, the level C really represents the kind of physical asset. So let's say that you had two different facilities in two completely different places. Those would be set up as separate level Cs. In the actual user guide itself, we'll just click that one. In the actual user guide itself, if we go back and open that up again, the example that we've got in there is kind of an imaginary, slightly kind of fantastical idea of a tool being used for some kind of space-related company. So what we have here is, if we for level C, the facility level, we've got a Houston research facility in Texas, and that's a mistake, I should say Florida. We've also got Cape Canaveral launch site and then a storage warehouse. So these are three completely separate physical locations. And the reason for there's a reason that we arrange the data like that, because if we look in the data dictionary, all the things which are at level C are representing something physical. So no matter what project you're doing, if you're doing a project this year, if you're doing a project 3 years from now, if you're doing a project, if you're running several projects in parallel, they'd all be sharing this information, because this is all information which represents kind of physical things. So yeah, there we go. So what we'll do is we will do a little bit of loading to show you the process of doing that. And again, I will not follow my own advice, and I'll just do the essential ones. Like I said in the previous video, if you do the essential ones, you can get the bare functionality. You really want to populate as much as possible, but I don't want to make this any more boring than it has to be. So I'm only going to do the essential ones. So it's already sorted in order, so we can see the system and subsystem, the ones we'd want to do, and then there's a bunch of other ones in there that we'll need to do as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do system and subsystem first, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip straight to the tag one, and I'm going to show you what happens when you run an import without all the information that you need in there, just to kind of run you through a little bit of a troubleshooting process. So let's get cracking. If we go and we can load in systems. Now, obviously, systemization is part of the process of, the project. That's a lot of guys sitting around with felt tip pens and things marking it up. So hopefully you'll have that information already. What I'm going to do is I am actually going to cheat. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to take this information from the demo project. Why? Because I can, that's why. So I'm going to go in here, and this is our fully populated demo project. I'm going to go in and I'm going to grab the systems, system list we've got in here. I'm just going to go and click export. Like I said, hopefully you'll have some kind of system list already, either from drawings or from an engineering data warehouse. Or the total ideal is that you have this, where you have GoTechnology Hub 2 connected up to an engineering data warehouse through the API. And there's a video on the API that's video 901. Then it would just automatically come through, and you wouldn't even have to load it. But let's go and load some stuff up. If we go into the import section, and what we'll do is we'll find system in here. And we'll do a simulate import, which is the one where it simulates the process of importing it, but it doesn't actually make any changes. So if there's any problems in here, then that will be all good. Okay, made a mistake there. Haven't actually changed back to the old project, but see, that's why it's good to run a simulate, because it wouldn't have made any changes anyway. So what we'll do instead there is we'll actually make sure we're going in the right project. So you can tell I'm recording this live. We'll go to imports and we'll put the systems in now the proper way. So if we go into simulate, and we'll just take that systems. There we go, select file, and there's a systems export there, and we just go import. Invalid 25. So there we go. We can see what is it that's gone wrong here. So we'll go and do view results, and we'll download the result file. Open that up. So we can see invalid, and when we go to invalid here, and what we can see, system group AL is not a valid system group. So we haven't set up a system group because that wasn't, it's something that's in level C, it's something that's not an essential table. You might not want to use system groups. So it's just highlighting to me that that's not in there. Now we could add that system group, or we could remove it from the import file. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add it. So we'll go in, and if we just go to that reference table. So system group is just there as kind of an optional grouping field for you to fill in when you want to, but I don't have it loaded in here, you see, so it says no records in there. Haven't set up any system groups, but the import file that I tried to run it in, so if we go to this system export, you can see in this import file, because I took it out from demo database, it says that there is a system group called AL. That's what I want to use, except I actually don't have a system group called AL in there. So that's why the import was warning me, like you say you want it on AL, but AL doesn't exist. So have you made a mistake there? So like I said, we could just remove them all. We could say, you know what, actually didn't really care. Or we can add the AL system group, which is what we're going to do this way. So we'll just go with AL. We'll just put system group AL. I'm just going to save and view. And now when we try and do the import, if we go back to imports, and we'll go simulate, and we'll select a file, system export. So you can see it's got to be added 25, so we know it's worked fine. So in that case, I'll just switch it to full, and I'll go import, and then it will have added all 25 there. If we go and have a look, full system import 460 complete. That's total added 25. So then if we go down to the reference tables, just to make sure that they're all in there, and we can see that they are. And now we can move on to the subsystem import. And if we have a look, I'll just go sub. So if you can type into this subsystem there. And if we have a look before I do that, if we have a look at the subsystem export, which again I took from the demo database, I'll just take a second to open up. And it's just opened up on the other screen, so let me just pull that back up. What you can see here is that, as you might remember from the previous video if you watched it, or from the user guide, orange is the identifying field and blue is the required field. So you have to say what system it is that this subsystem's in. And if that system doesn't exist, then these rows, which had a fake one, it wouldn't accept them. So if I was to go and change one of them, let's just choose the last one. If I, instead of saying AL124, I said, enable editing. I go in here and we go we go ZZ 876, that system doesn't, that's not a real system. I haven't imported that. I also don't have a priority set, so we'll take these out because I haven't actually populated the priority reference table. So we'll go like that, and we'll save that. Because I don't have any priority set up, it would again highlight the fact you're trying to use a priority there, but you haven't actually populated that priority table. So in reference tables and priorities, if we go and have a look, it's actually going to be totally empty. So because I had that in, it wouldn't have liked that, and it's going to do the same thing because on that one system. So what we'll do is if we go to the subsystem export, and we will go and we'll just do a full. No, actually, we'll do a simulate. Let's be safe. Better safe than sorry. So it's added that to the queue, and I'm going to assume that it's already completed. Sometimes it takes a little second for it to actually pop up, and I'll just clear all my notifications as well, so that again, when it is ready, it'll go purple. So we'll click on that. You can also just go into imports, import logs, and you can see all the imports. So if I just show you that as well, you'll see this is all the things that we've run. So you can see, these ones we did. That was in the earlier video, and this one is in this video. And you can see there's 2 added, but then there's one which is invalid, which is what we would predict because there's that one with that made-up subsystem. That made-up system name in there. That system name does not actually exist in our tutorial projects. So again, we'll go back down to Excel, and we'll get this, and we'll pull it up here. So we can do all results and see them all. These ones are all valid, great. Then the last row is going to be invalid, and it's going to say ZZ86 is not a valid system, which is true. I've got no comeback to that. The import results never lie. So if we go back to, we'll close down the system export because we don't need that, and I've got lots of spreadsheets open. Don't want to save any changes. And if we go back to the subsystem import, just here, and what we want to do, we'll go back up here, is I realize the error of my ways. There is no ZZ876. What was I thinking? I will keep complete. I'll keep that. Actually, I'll do it this way. Still don't want the priorities though, because I haven't populated them. Again, don't do what I do. Make sure you do populate your priority reference table, and then you can have that information in there. So that's fixed now. We actually wanted it in AL124. I obviously misread that drawing where it said which system it was in. And if we go and import that now, import, and I go full and subsystem. There we go. Select subsystem export and full. So import 462, and you can see that thing's turned purple there. So even though the actual little toast, as they call it, alert hasn't popped up yet, I know that it is done. So if we go and have a look at that results there, you can see that there's 132 added, and there weren't any errors or anything like that. So that's great. So now if we go into the subsystems reference table, you'll see, look at that. They're all in there, isn't that great? So next what we're going to do is we are going to jump right to the end, and we're going to import the tags, and there's going to be a lot of errors, and again, I'll just run through one more time. This is how you would fix those errors, and then we'll probably just call it a day because the video is getting pretty long. So let's just go up to the imports again, and we'll go simulate because we know for a fact we can see into the future, and we know that this one's going to have a lot of errors in there. And there is a way, if you want to, that you can just, you could start off by doing a simulate tag import just to see all the information highlighted that you haven't loaded, if you want to do it that way. So if we'll go and import that, and we are going to, interesting. Okay, so what we've got here, this is something that's going to come up a little bit later on, is custom fields. So on that import template for the demo, we had some custom field headers in there, and those custom fields, we haven't set up any custom fields at all for this one. So custom fields are just a way of, if there's something that you want to store and we haven't created a field for it, it'll be in, you can add it as a custom field instead. So what we'll do is we'll just go in, and I'll just go ahead and I'll get rid of the custom custom fields, so we'll just edit that file, because, like I said, we're kind of at this point we're like an omnipotent completions engineer. We know all things, we know all truths, and we know that it's just for that reason that file's wrong. It's just that we don't have those custom fields, and the custom fields come last in the template. You can always tell it's a custom field because it comes after the comments field. So comments is the last standard field you'll ever have. So we can just delete these. You can actually delete any of the optional fields that you don't want to populate. So, for example, if we know we're not going to do anything with EX protection, we could get rid of that. If we know, so whatever you're not populating, you can actually do. You can remove. You can also move the things around as well. If you want to move the columns in a different order, feel free to do that. Just don't change the names of them. If you change the names, it won't work. So you can't just be called. You can't call that desk, and you can't rename this to tag number. It won't work because GoTechnology hub2 won't know what you're talking about. So we just close that down, and again we'll run. We'll just reselect the file, and we'll see what happens this time. Okay, import has been added to the queue. Now that was quite a long import to run in, so it might take a second for it to load up. I'll just clear out notifications I've got, and we can go and have a look at the import logs. And yep, not there just yet. Oh, there we go. It just took a second, and simulate tag import is completed. So we can see out of all 17,614, they were all invalid. So if we just download the results file for that, and we get Excel open, there we go. So let's have a look. So straight away we can see that there's a lot of things in there that are invalid. We've got disciplines, we got equipment types, we got everything. There's a lot of stuff that's going wrong here. So if we go across to here, we've got the details in there. So discipline I is not a valid discipline equipment type, and TEI is not a valid equipment type. So basically what we need to do now is we need to set up our all the missing disciplines, and we need to set up all the different equipment types that aren't in there. So one way we can kind of figure that one out, if we put a filter on that column there, and if we just go there, we can see that all the disciplines we need, that's the list of all the ones we've got in there. And if we go over here as well, we could go and filter that, and we could see, okay, so for the ones which are discipline, we can see, so these are the ones, so it looks like it's DECILMST. We got lots of them. So basically what we need to do at that point is go in and populate all of those. Now again, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to cheat, because that's just the kind of person that I am. And I'm going to take the actual correct data from the demo. But the idea is when you see this, now you know, okay, well, those are the things that are missing. Those are the things that I've got to populate. So I open up my discipline. So before I go and cheat, I'll show you what you'd want to do. You'd want to go and open up your discipline export. So we've got the one here. Well, that's not the full one, is it? That is. Oh, right, yeah, of course. So then what we would want to do is we can actually use the results file if we want, because that's the results file. But if we go in and we get rid of that, and we change that, and we'd say, okay, so the ones it was missing was things like I, which would be like instrument, and then there was like S, which is going to be like structural. And we'd go and we'd import this in, and then we could, retry the tags. We'd want to add all the disciplines that are missing and all the equipment types that are missing. But like I said, I'm a cheater and a scoundrel, so I am just going to use the demo files. So I'll just go, and if we just go down here, and we go back to imports, And if we just go and we'll find the updated discipline list, that one right there, and just import that. So there we go, we've got 3 unchanged, 2 updated, 14 added, and then what we'll do is we'll go to our equipment types, and we'll put those in. So equipment types are just kind of general categorizations. They're used for automatically assigning ITRs as well, which I'll do a separate video on after I've done all the kind of data loading ones. Yeah, so if we go in and we'll import that. Okay, we've added all of those now. So all we've got left to do is just have a look at the tags. We'll just do a last check to make sure there's nothing else. Okay, so there is actually some ones with areas and module as well. What we'll do though is and location. What we'll do though is we'll leave that just to kind of show how it's partially successful. So we'll go back and we'll just import it anyway. So if we just go like that. So what we'll see is that we'll have some rows have been added and some haven't. So if we just go and import. Okay, import's been added to the queue, and it will just take a minute or two to go through. We'll just give it a few seconds. Okay, there we go. That's that complete now. So if we go and we have a look at the import logs, or yeah, we can just do it this way, or we could have just done it through the notification and click on that. That's probably the easiest way. So if we just go and we download results file, and I'll just move that. There you go. Open that up. So that's the old one. It just takes a second for it to get the new one up. There we go, and we can see that out of the total rows, we got 15,000 have gone in and 1,678 haven't. So we can see these are all the ones which are okay, that's groovy, and these are the ones which aren't, the reason why, and it's highlighted in red as to which fields are missing, and if you want to you can always zoom out and make it nice and obvious what's missing there, and it'll give you the reasons why. So we could go in and we could fix these, but you know, you get the point. So if we go and have a quick look at the tags, just to see that we've got those in there, tagged items tags, and there we go, we've got a bunch of tags in there. So that's where I'm going to call a close to this video. Hopefully that's given you the basics of this, and that's all we're trying to do here, is get that kind of basic information. As we go on, we'll get into kind of more detail, we'll get things a bit more populated out. We'll talk a little bit about what that kind of equipment type does in a later video. But for now, we've got the basics done, and in the next video we'll finish off loading up the data, and that'll be that. Okay, thanks very much.